The In the Den podcast with SIMBA and Spokecast is produced locally and independently by Spokecast. Intro music provided by Logan Daniel McDonald. What is up, everyone, and welcome back to In the Den, a podcast collaboration between SIMBA and Spokecast. For this episode, Alexis and Brennan sat down with Andrew Bryan from the Small Business Office at the Washington State Department of Labor and Industries, also known as L&I. Now, I know exactly what you're thinking. An episode about L&I might not sound like the most exciting topic. What is up, everyone, and welcome back. If you're a small business owner, a entrepreneur, nonprofit leader, or even thinking about starting a business, for this conversation, Alexis and Brennan sat down with Andrew Bryan from the Small Business Office. We talked about Washington State Department actually Labor and Industries. Some of the most common mistakes business owners make when hiring. Now, I know exactly what you're thinking. Working with independent contractors, bringing on interns, and creating workplace safety programs. But trust me, we also dug into a lot of business owner misconceptions people have about nonprofit leader and why they're thinking about starting a business. This conversation is packed with information you probably didn't catch them doing something wrong. We talked about one of my biggest takeaways from this conversation was just how some of the most common mistakes business owners make when hiring employees that they don't even know exist. Working with independent whether you're trying to hire your first employee, on interns, understanding and creating workplace safety requirements, or simply figure out where to start. A lot of there are misconceptions people have about L&I out there and why their small business office exists. This conversation business owners stay compliant, so informative, and not catch them doing something wrong. Not lying. I learned so one of my biggest takeaways from this conversation. I'm excited for you to dig in, and I will not keep you any longer to most business owners. Andrew Bryan even from the Small Business Office, whether you're trying to hire your first employee, understand workers' compensation requirements, or simply figure out where to start, there are people and organizations out there that want to help you.
Welcome back to the In the Den podcast with SIMBA and Spokecast.
Hello.
Hello.
So
I'm Alexis.
I'm excited for you to
I'm Brennan.
And I will not keep you
Today we have Andrew Bryan,
from the Small Business Office.
Two first names. I'm all first names, all the way down to the cellular level. Yes.
Let's
from
get into it.
Washington Labor and Industries, from the Small Business Office.
That is correct.
The outreach office.
Where there's no business like small business.
Nice.
I won't sing it though. It's too early for that.
Yeah. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. It's my first podcast.
Yes.
I'm
We're
thrilled.
we're kicking off your podcast career.
Yes. That's what I've been hoping for.
Yeah. I'm still waiting for mine to blow up, Brennan.
we're waiting for I mean, this is gonna get to the Joe Rogan level eventually.
Yeah.
But right now we're just a local small. I won't say small podcast, but a podcast that for SIMBA to feature local businesses that are part of SIMBA. Mm-hmm. And I feel like you and Robin talked about having someone on from L&I from the beginning, just to kind of do an episode talking about what L&I does, and especially for small businesses in our region locally. And I mean, I already learned something off camera that I feel like I should have known a long time ago, but I'm excited to have this conversation, and welcome back to Spokane. This is your fourth time here?
My fourth time here, and I do love it. I love the whole Expo 74, all those remnants and walking through the park. It's a really great downtown.
It is, yeah. I love our downtown.
Yeah, it's been updated a lot recently.
Yeah. Off script, and I should ask, do you come to Spokane often to meet with local businesses? I know you're here for an event right now, but is this something, do you travel around our state a lot?
Yes, we do. As part of, I'm on a team called the Small Business Liaison Team, and what we do is we'll hold workshops across the state. We call them Small Business Requirements and Resources, and because the state absolutely loves its acronyms, that's our love language. We'll call them SBRRs. And so, they've taken us out here before. Typically, I'm out here because of BizFair.
Okay.
About 3 years ago, we we've always had a biz fair on the west side, but we're like, hey, we need to throw some love to the east side. There's a lot of businesses we want to help out here.
Definitely.
So we've been having a biz fair in Spokane for the past 3 years,
Nice.
which is today.
Wow.
At the time of this recording.
Thank you. Well, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come do this podcast.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, I'll just kick it off with this first question is for people who have no idea what L&I really does, like me. What do you actually cover that small businesses should care about?
All right. A better question might be, what don't we cover that small businesses should care about? In addition to being everyone's favorite state agency in the entire galaxy, and I'm sure that's true for everyone, or maybe I like to just tell myself that. L&I administers all sorts of programs that are really crucial for the functioning of a small business in our gorgeous state. Our motto is keep Washington safe and working, and kind of like the major programs that we'll operate in trying to keep that business safe and working, you're most likely going to interact with us as a business in one of probably these 4 major categories. One of them, like what we were discussing earlier, is workers' compensation.
Yep.
Like as soon as you have employees, you're required to have a workers' compensation account with our agency.
But if you don't have employees, you don't have to have a workers' comp account.
That's correct. Like if you are listed as the owner on your business license, you're considered exempt.
Okay.
So you don't need to get it, but you could get elective coverage for yourself.
Yeah.
And that might be a good idea. Just typically if, you want to check if your public or private health insurance plan, like will cover things like, let's say you get injured in the job that you're operating.
Yeah.
There might be a higher deductible. They may not cover certain things, or they may not offer like wage replacement if you're out of work for a long time. So that might be why you would want to get optional coverage with us.
Awesome. So let's say someone that was coming to visit my space hurt themselves on the way into the studio. Does their L&I cover that, or does my L&I should cover that? Like, how does that work?
Sure. So that's going to depend on the person coming in. Like if they are part of a business and they are here working, like let's say Alexis came in and she
I already fell outside.
She already fell outside. So like she's okay, folks.
I'm okay.
That's good. But if she weren't, she was working at that time.
Okay.
So that would be something that she would file. She would go see a medical provider. They would fill out a report of accident.
Yeah.
And that would then get sent to L&I, and then it would be put on her employer's account.
Gotcha.
So like it's just a private individual that would coming in here though, that would be like a different kind of liability.
That would be a different
insurance.
liability.
Yeah.
Okay.
It would only be your employees.
Interesting.
Yeah, you're learning so much.
I am learning so much. I mean, I've never you know what's funny? I do have like cords all over the place, and I like make sure I tie them down because I've tripped over my cords before, and I imagine if someone came in my studio and like tripped over my cords, it'd probably be my fault, right?
It probably would. And I noticed that, and I was admiring it. I was like, because another major thing that L&I does is workplace safety and health.
Yes.
Okay.
Like I'm sure everyone's heard of OSHA at the federal level. 27 states in our country handle the OSHA requirements, and Washington is one of those. And we handle it through something we call the Division of Occupational Safety and Health. Again, we love our acronyms. It's DOSH. It's a better one than SBRR.
Yeah.
So we handle all those kind of workplace safety and health laws. We also handle a whole bunch of like workplace rights, like labor laws, things like, wage and hour, overtime. And then the last thing, probably a business would interact with us. Let's say they have no employees. They never want to have employees. They don't want that elective coverage. They might interact with us as part of licensing and permitting, especially if they're in the construction trade.
Yeah.
So, you have to be registered as a contractor in this state if you're doing any kind of construction work. Same with like plumbing and electrical.
Interesting. About like, so do you deal with a lot of like private claims where like say an employee at a business, like a small business, doesn't get paid? Like, is that something that someone would, if they were not getting paid by their employer, they would want to come to you?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay.
They would be able to file a wage complaint. We have them on our website. They can call a phone number if they'd like. There's multiple ways to submit one, but yes, they would submit a wage complaint. one of us at Labor and Industries would investigate that.
Yeah.
Because we want to make sure that, it's true for both the employer and the employee. And then, they would recover any lost wages if they were due.
Yeah. I mean, I just feel like there's so much that people just don't know about. Like, I mean, I feel like I don't think I've ever had a job that I didn't get paid by, but I've heard of people like the horror stories of like, I haven't been like, especially in the like restaurant industry.
Sure.
Places close overnight, and then employees are locked out of their job, business, and like they're like, how do I claim my last check? And most of the times, I don't think workers know their rights.
Yeah.
So
actually, before I started working at SIMBA, I learned I didn't know anything. I probably could like have some issues with my past employers, but that's the nice thing about what Andrew and his team does, and also what SIMBA does. We are also a partner through a contract through LNI where we can like educate small businesses on this, and so that way they are not getting in trouble. They're not having to get reported and all those things. And I correct me if I'm wrong, we're a non-reporting entity. So like if you come to us and you're like, hey, this is happening, we will not report you. We will help you. We will guide you. We'll put you in contact with the right people and stuff like that. So that's what SIMBA does. And so we do like content for them. We do workshops and stuff like that. So yeah, we're just like a resource. And then Andrew, obviously, and your team is like, I'm usually like, go talk to LNI.
Yeah. The example Robin always uses is if you have your like, if you come to SIMBA and say I have a 14-year-old working, my daughter working for me at my restaurant, like doesn't have to report that restaurant.
Yeah,
that's what you mean by non-reporting.
Non-reporting, yeah. So like I think she has a story of helping a small business. A 14-year-old was pouring coffee.
I don't know if she should be saying that, but I don't know. Like that's a good example.
I'm a safe space, and that's something that our office does. Okay. Do. Like we find, like I've been doing this for many years, and I found that the vast majority of people just don't know the rules. So they don't even know that they're operating out of compliance. They think they're doing the right thing. So that's where our office kind of comes in. We're here to educate you in the same way that like SIMBA is doing that. Because believe it or not, a lot of people don't want to call LNI directly for some reason or another. There is a fear, especially for employers, that's kind of ingrained in there. They're afraid, if I contact LNI, maybe I'm going to be put on their radar.
Yeah.
Our office doesn't do that. We're not part of a compliance or enforcement side. So when you call us, we're just there to help you. You can be honest with us. We're not gonna go and tattle on you. Our goal is to educate you, provide you those resources, and make sure that you're educated so that you can be in compliance. And
that's a great transition to this next question. Is like, what is the number one what is the number one mistake that you see small businesses make with LNI right after they start their business?
Sure, of course. So being an employer in Washington comes with a lot of responsibilities. As soon as you get that first employee, that's even for an hour, once you're an employer, you have a lot of responsibilities.
Okay.
So it's pretty easy to potentially make some mistakes. Perhaps the number one I see is that employers don't put a lot of time or effort into workplace safety and health, and that can create all sorts of different problems because there are a lot of big requirements around that safety and health.
Yeah.
So it's not just enough to provide a safe and healthy workplace. In fact, like the number one citation across every business that has employees in our state is they do not have something called an accident prevention program. And all that is just a written safety program. Like you're required to have that if you have employees in our state. So it's the number one citation because a lot of people don't realize, oh, that's a requirement that I have to do.
So this has to be like in their employee handbook?
Yes, it can be in a handbook. We have templates on our website. It's just, again, it's one of those cases where I think a lot of people are unfamiliar that it's even a requirement.
Yeah.
So that's one. Another one is you're supposed to have safety meetings regularly. And that can be just a very simple thing, like a safety tip, like once a month if it needs to be. But there does need to be some sort of safety meeting. And if you have a certain number of people, I believe it's 11 people working all at the same time, you're required to have a safety committee.
Oh, well. Wow.
So yeah, there's all these things that you wouldn't have guessed. And they are out there.
We are actually having at SIMBA, we're doing on the September 14th. Will that be out?
Yes, we'll be out by then.
Cool. September 14th at Liberty Park, we're doing an APP workshop. So people can like come learn how to do their plan for like 30 minutes. And then for an hour, they're going to work on it with people, like with us, with someone from L&I. And they have like a template and they go through the template. And so, yeah, September 14th at Liberty Park in like the evening. So, yeah. And then also we have on our YouTube channel, we have past workshops that we've done that go over what an APP is.
Wow. So is this one of those things that like if you can get dinged if you don't do these type of things? Like
you can, not having that safety program, you could get a citation for it. Typically it's, they're maybe going to find some other kind of safety issue, and that would be then another citation. So you could end up paying a fine for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people who are like in construction, it's very normal, very like they are like, okay, yeah, definitely. But people who are just like in marketing or like graphics, like little, like really low key, like not super dangerous jobs, they forget that they have to have one too. Like we even have one in.
I mean, I will say like I've worked at multiple, like a couple agencies and this other just in-house marketing jobs, and I mean, I've never had a safety meeting, and so that's it is interesting though. Like I worked at this one place that like it was like a wood building, and there was on our side of the wall, like there was no way to get out if there was a fire on this side, and I was like, this is a problem. And they finally put a door that is out that you can get to the outside now. But like, I was just like, I remember working there thinking like, this is an issue.
Yeah.
and no one ever told me how to get out. So,
Yeah.
I should like, I don't know if we have this. Yeah. We don't. When did L&I start? Like, when did this like organization become like what was the reason for it? Is it to protect workers?
I believe it goes way back to 1911 is when we started the industrial insurance program. So industrial insurance is just that workers' comp. And, as you might have guessed, kind of the biggest industry in our state back then was logging.
Right.
And a lot of people were getting injured as a result of that. And they were then kind of, there was kind of no coverage for them when they were injured. So they were starting to sue their employers. They were seeing that it was getting increasingly successful. So they did start instituting this industrial insurance program.
Okay.
I think that's kind of like our origin story. It's not as exciting as Batman, but it's still pretty good.
I mean, when you look at the history of Washington State, like a lot of logging, like in Spokane in general, like there's a lot of like mining, like started here. Not started here, but like businesses were here from the Silver Valley. Like, and I have to imagine, like you watch movies from like that time, like I did Train Dreams, it was a recent one that came out that was Oscar nominated, takes film partially here in Spokane. And I mean, and when they're working on those train tracks, like people are getting killed, people are getting hurt, and there was no protection for them. And and I think, and I'm always curious to know about how like these organizations, these government organizations started, because there probably was a reason for it. Yeah.
How dangerous it was. I mean, even in that movie, a couple people get injured by trees, limbs falling.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an incredibly dangerous industry, and you can tell by the risk class. It's like $20 an hour to cover someone.
Wow.
With workers' comp for logging, just because it is such a dangerous profession.
Dang.
Yeah.
My job's so easy.
Yes, but you made a really great point. A lot of people just assume like, I'm working in an office, like there couldn't possibly be any dangers. But then you're noting like, I don't have any way to escape if there's a fire.
Right.
And cords, like you could just trip, you could hit a table. It's like no one kind of anticipates that they're going to have these accidents, but they're always a risk.
Yeah. No, it's good to, and the other thing I was going to say is like, my wife, she recently moved into a new office, and it was delayed by like a month because the main stairwell did not have 3 points of contact, and so they couldn't open up their new office yet because they needed to install a new railing so they could, when they walked up and down the stairs, they could have 3 points of contact. And like, it's interesting you don't really think about it when you're an employer that you need to do these type of things and make sure that What is like the biggest compliance areas business owners overlook?
The biggest compliance areas, as I mentioned, having that written safety program is probably the biggest in terms of safety and health. But again, you do want to ensure if you have any workers, and even if it's like for an hour, you have to have that workers' comp coverage for them.
I was gonna does that include in why am I blanking on what it's called? Like when you have like a student
Interns?
intern, does that includes interns as well?
It might. So
Okay.
there's different ways that qualify as interns. You know,
Yeah.
there's paid internships, which is essentially like having an employee. So it is going to be there. There's unpaid internships, but there's very specific criteria that needs to be passed in order to have an unpaid internship.
Yeah.
Usually if they're part of some kind of formal education program, they have to be getting some sort of credit.
Yeah.
You can't just have them working for you for free.
Yeah.
Unless you're a nonprofit.
I've came across that. I was part of a co-op, and I have multiple students reach out to me about like helping out, like to intern, and they just like, I want to come learn how to podcast, learn how to use equipment, and like I'll come work for free. I just want to like kind of show me the ropes. And I was like, oh, this is great. I'll do this. But because I was part of a co-op and I was a part of a bigger organization, there was like all these compliance issues that like, because we were more than a certain number of people and so I had to report it. And I was like, I was just like, so I can't just have someone come work for me for free. And so there are just a lot of rules, and I mean, I shouldn't say a lot, but there's things you have to cover.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And we do actually hear that a lot recently because, we do have a high minimum wage. So a lot of people will potentially offer like, hey, I'd love to volunteer for you. I just want to learn this stuff.
Yeah.
But if you're a for-profit business, you can't have volunteers.
Yeah.
Volunteers are reserved for nonprofits, charitable organizations, government organizations, churches, things like that. So yeah, if you could always work with the school to create some sort of kind of formal program so they're getting at least some sort of credit. That could do an unpaid internship. Yeah. Otherwise, it would be a paid one.
A
Yeah.
lot of the schools around this area does like, I want to say it's like Workforce or WorkSource, something basically where they're you sign up through them, the school, and then they're getting paid through
that program.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I remember I worked at a place and it was a for-profit and we would always have interns and they were always getting paid.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, and we even do that too, even though we're a nonprofit, we still because I think we still want people to get paid. Like, even like,
that's nice.
If they're like working consistently, like always like doing stuff, then I think
I feel like as someone who did a free internship, I did it for Hoop Fest and they're nonprofit. So like seeing the students like get kind of taken advantage of is something that like I always would want to make sure that the students are compensated somehow. Like that's why I haven't taken on an intern, is because like if I can't pay them, I shouldn't use their work. Like, cause like it's not, I don't think it's very cool to not pay your interns. But if you were using a program like,
you should look into it.
Yeah, I should.
It is like this field, like this is like a good, like you are really like the only podcasting, well, that I know of.
Right.
Only like, so like they would get experience from here. And
That's
so it
true,
would make sense. So I think you should definitely look into it. Yeah. We got like a good intern from Whitworth and I've gotten a couple of other jobs from like Gonzaga and stuff. Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, they should get paid. I feel bad.
They should. And you can pay if they're 14 or 15 years old. So I mean, we're talking like young high school students. Okay. You could pay. It's 85% of the minimum wage is allowable. But again, that's just 14 and 15-year-olds.
Okay. Well, I can't wait till my twins are 14.
Now that brings up a really good question.
It's totally different.
I'm just trained to hear all these kind of red flags in my I was like, oh, okay, maybe something else that you might need a little coaching. And that's a lot of people think like, oh, if it's my family, I don't need to pay them.
Right.
They're not a worker. And according to the state, they are.
Yeah.
Like, unless they're on your business license, which would be really strange. I don't know, maybe you're really generous.
No, I'm not. Not yet.
But yeah, family members and spouses are going to be employees.
Yeah.
You have to pay minimum wage that you have to cover with the laws. I mean, there are some minor exceptions like family farms is one. And another exception would be like if you're a sole proprietorship.
Yeah.
Then because of your spouse then would also be considered exempt. But for most businesses tend to be corporations or LLCs. So that just means whoever is listed on that business license as an owner, those are the ones that are exempt. Everyone else is an employee.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, you have to pay your family members.
You do.
Yeah.
There's always like TikTok or Instagram trends that say like, hire your kid
Yeah.
and you can, save all this money. It's like,
Well, I think
that doesn't work in this state.
I've been told by friends who are also like, you should hire your Sally to come sweep your floor and like pay her and like that you can put that in your taxes. Like, and I'm
Exactly.
like, and I don't do anything like that, but like, it is like, there seems to be a lot of, is that a big myth that people.
It is. Yeah.
Okay.
It might fly in certain states that aren't as regulated, but yeah, that doesn't work here in Washington. And there's also like in Washington, you need a minor work permit. If that person that's working for you is less than 18 years old, you do have to get a minor work permit on your business license. So that means there's like restrictions on what kind of duties they can do. Obviously, we don't want 14-year-olds with chainsaws. Right. Like there's limitations on like how many hours they can work, all sorts of things like that. So when you do hire someone under 18, there's a bit of research that you need to do, but our office can help you do that.
Yeah, and SIMBA can help you too.
Yeah. Just help everywhere you look.
Yeah.
What are some other misunderstandings like small business owners may have about starting a business?
Okay. So probably one of the big ones is around independent contractors.
That's what I was going to say.
It's like, oh wow, it's just all the time. Like I hear over and over, no, that's not an employee. That's a 1099 employee. And I was like, there's no such thing as a 1099 employee because a 1099 is what you give to a true independent contractor, never an employee. So you can't have both of those words mean the same thing.
Right.
It's actually pretty strict here in Washington, what it takes to be a true independent contractor. And it's very, very confusing because you could be considered a legitimate subcontractor or an independent contractor by the IRS's federal definition, but not one by the state. Again, like Washington is we want to keep Washington safe and working. So that's what we're concerned with. And like, we want to make sure people are being covered when they should be covered. So there's two different tests that we're going to look at. One of them is like a personal labor test. That is, are they bringing employees of their own? Like, let's say you hire someone as an independent contractor. Are they bringing employees of their own, or are they bringing some sort of major specialized equipment? And that's more than just like a truck or a lawnmower. I'm talking something very specific that requires expertise to operate it. Not a common type piece of machinery.
Yeah, like an excavator.
Exactly. Okay. Something that it does require some sort of additional training to do. And no direction and control over them. Like you have a job for them, you do a contract, they perform that work. You're not, standing over them, telling them how to do it every step of the way. If that doesn't pass, then there's a 6-part test. And it's actually a 7-part test if it involves construction work. And the 7th part is just that they're registered as a contractor. But probably the quickest and easiest way for me to know, because I get this question all the time. People are like, no, that's an independent contractor. I'll ask, do they have their own business license?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the easiest way to tell right off the bat. And they're like, no. Well, then they're not an independent contractor.
Right.
That's your employee. And same like direction and control. Like, are you exerting direction and control on them? Do they have multiple clients? I mean, like I said, there's 6 parts to the test, and every single part has to be passed.
Interesting.
So that's probably the one area where most people get in trouble with. But again, they can reach out to our office. We even have a really great thing called a determinations unit. You can contact them. You can kind of give the specifics of that work arrangement, and they can give you a written determination that'll tell you, yes, this passes the test. So it's kind of something you have if it ever gets questioned later. Or they'll tell you, no, it's not passing it because of these things. And that either gives you the option to kind of, change the conditions of that work, or you would have to hire them on.
this actually brings up a question I would have about 1099 because I mean I'm an LLC, but I am what did you say a sole prop, and when someone hires me, they will I got a couple 1099s for my taxes, if so, let's say business over here, nonprofit over here hires me to record their podcast for them. They're my client, but then they pay me as an independent contractor. Is that how that should work?
That would make sense. You are an independent business.
Okay.
So you are an LLC, you have a business license, you have multiple clients. You're not just working for them all the time. That's another thing. Like sometimes businesses will try and, they have one person that's only and always working for them, and they have them get a business license. That's still not going to pass the test because, they're not like a legitimate business. They're not serving, multiple clients. They're just adhering to that one person.
Okay.
But yeah, you are an independent business. So that's really what you want to look at. Am I truly an independent business? Am I operating as one? Do I have customers? Yeah.
Also, do you take care of all your own accounting and all that? That's like another thing of you keep track of all that. You do all your own taxes, all that, on your own for your business.
Okay.
Also, one thing that I always tell people is that you cannot control their hours or how long they work, where they work.
Precisely.
How, you can have a contract of hey, I would here's a deadline, but not I want it done on these days. I want it done on this time. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, you have freedom to make your own schedule too.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
This is where I'd love to plug a really great resource,
Okay.
which is LNI. It's the letter N, like Nancy. So lni.wa.gov/independent contractor. It has, because it's such a prevalent problem, we have e-courses on there. We have a guide on there that I find really useful because it will give you examples of each part of that test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it helps to kind of read it in a story kind of format or examples of okay, that's why this would pass or that's why this wouldn't.
What's the benefit of having a 1099 employee or someone on a 1099 because it's not an employee versus having them be an employee at your business? Is it tax reasons? Is it L&I reasons? Is there multiple reasons why
There's
people I know it happens a lot in the marketing world, where if I have I'm very good at Google Ads, let's say, and a marketing agency says, I want to hire you to come in and be our Google Ad specialist for our agency, but you already have your small business, so I'm going to hire you as a 1099 employee, but I'm also when they start trying to control your hours and that type, we want you here from 9 to 5, that kind of stuff, that's when it becomes not a 1099 versus a real employee.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's really kind of the main issue, and it's a difficult one to determine because there's a lot of gray area in it, but that is that direction and control, and that's where you would want an employee, because if you want to be able to say hey, I want you here from this hour to this, I want you here for these meetings, I want to be able to critique your work and maybe micromanage you if I want to.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, it's all those things. I think most businesses, they do the 1099 route because they're afraid.
Yeah.
It seems kind of daunting because it's oh geez, he just listed all the things. I have to worry about safety and health and workers' comp and labor laws and potentially licensing, all this kind of stuff. So they won't do it because they're kind of afraid to reach out for help. And that's where we want to encourage people reach out to our office.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for. We're going to point you to all those resources, and there are a ton of free resources that can help people get started that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, totally. And I get a lot of people who are wanting to start restaurants or something, mainly it's restaurants, and they want to hire their friends. And they're well, she's an independent contractor. And I'm does she have a business license? And this and that. And I'm so you would have full control over her schedule? Yes. And I'm no, you have to here's the guide. And then I just try and help them. But yeah, that's a lot. They try and get around hiring friends or family members, being oh, they're an independent contractor, and it's no. Yeah.
What happens if people just ignore their LNI requirements.
Sure. Well, they are taking a risk. So often what happens, and I've seen this like with family members, with really close friends, it usually happens when someone gets injured. Because they get injured and they're suddenly stuck with a medical bill. And typically when you go in, to a medical provider and they may ask how you were injured. And if you say at work, that's going to initiate that claim process.
Yeah.
And that's when they'll find out, oh, we weren't covering this person with workers' comp. And then you could be potentially liable for the cost of those things. So it's so much cheaper to have workers' comp than it is to pay a medical bill in this country. So
right.
It makes sense to have it. Someone else could report it. And typically we'll see it's like a competitor, a business competitor. They could report like a safety hazard. They could report anything that they're seeing. Moreover, it's just good for for everyone involved. It gives peace of mind to that employer.
Yeah.
Like they're going to be covered with all these things. They know that if their employee gets injured, they're going to get that treatment. They may even get wage replacement. So it does make sense just to do it.
What do you find people's misconception of L&I is mostly? Like, I feel like people are maybe just scared of it because like I got to pay them money and like they're coming after me. Like, and like I think that's scary, but is that what you see most is like there's a misunderstanding of what L&I functions as?
Sure. Like when I first moved to the state and before I was working with this agency, like, I think the fear is because most people associate L&I with like safety inspectors. So those are those people like, if you report a safety hazard or if you report a violation, this is the person that has to go out. And because of OSHA laws, they do often have to fine for things. Like they don't really have the option of not giving you a citation for it.
Yeah.
Like even, you could have been like, I just didn't know. But they still have to fine you for it. So I think that's kind of part of it is that, like this fear of like, it's this enforcement thing. They're out to get you. They're going to come out there and do that. That's not at all the case. And same with like, wage complaints, stuff like that. Like your employee may say you aren't paying them correctly. And this is like the enforcement side. So that's probably the fear. But there's this whole other side to L&I that people don't know. And they're just because of the fear of it, they don't reach out to. Yeah. And I'd say the majority of L&I is all about education and resources and helping you so you don't have to see the enforcement side of us. Like we would much prefer that everyone's safe and healthy and working as opposed to having to go out and do that enforcement part. And like I said, I think the vast majority of employers, it's not intentional. They're not, they're not bad guys out there trying to do this. They just aren't aware of what they're supposed to do. And that's where we kind of come in our office. And same with partnering with SIMBA. It's like, we want to help educate you. We want to help you understand the rules so that you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
And I think like also owning a business in Washington is kind of intimidating because there are a lot of like, there's a lot of different departments you have to go through. So it's not just L&I you're working with the Department of Revenue. You're working with the regional, like Spokane Regional Health Department in this instance. Like there are so many different departments that people just are like, they're just like, I just give up and they kind of just are like, whatever. Yeah. But you have to but all of the ones that I've worked with, like I've worked with L&I, Department of Revenue, Regional Health Department, they're all so helpful. Like you can call them and get on the phone and like they will talk you through it and like work it out. And versus like getting fined and getting reported, it's just like, I feel like no one really wants to call anymore, but I'm like, just call them. And they're like, what? I can do that? I'm like, yeah, just call this number and like, or something. Or
you
like
could email us too.
Email, like, something. And so I think that is like another thing is there's just so many different places people have to go, which we're trying to like at SIMBA, we're trying to do like a small business guide of like, okay, here's like the things you need to go. Like this is where you go first, then you go here to make it a little bit easier. There are resources online and everything, but I think it's just overwhelming for businesses.
It really is. Like, I mean, I remember when I started my LLC like in 2021, like I had left my old studio that just went out of business and I was kind of left to pick up the pieces of what I was doing, and I was like, oh, I could just podcast out of my house and just charge people like under the table kind of thing. But I was like, I want to do this properly. I want to start an LLC. So I filed all that paperwork. But then like, I was like, but the taxes came and all that other stuff. And I was like, I did feel lost.
Yeah.
Like I did not know what to do. And I know that SIMBA existed then, but I was like, I did not come to you. But it is like, I do point people to you. Like if you're a small business and you want to know like how to start your business, like reach out to SIMBA. And because there is like, I mean, the example we were talking off camera was like, I've been paying workers' comp or not paying it. I've just been filing it. And apparently I didn't need to do that. So like and you just don't know if you don't ask the question, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
And I mean, honestly, I thought I had to file it. So
yeah, and I think people just see like things in their inbox, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I gotta find. Oh, I gotta pay this. I gotta do this," and like they don't actually like know like, "Oh, I need to go to this place. I need to go to this," and like really like sit down and look at everything.
yeah,
and, like, separate it all.
Does Ellen and I like? I feel like I get scammed a lot. Like I get text messages. I get text messages from a random number that says like you need to file some type of report, and I'm like, this is from like some number from the UK. Like there's no way this is a real thing. But like, is there a place to like if you get stuff like that? Like especially if you get like a scam from like a supposed LNI place, is there a place to go look for something like that? Like to check if they're legit?
That's a great question. It's like you were reading my mind because I was like, oh, we should be talking about, misleading because there are a lot
There's
of them.
so much.
And literally as soon as you like start your LLC as Secretary of State, you're going to get stuff. And it's usually not from our state. It's from
Florida.
Yeah, Florida. Michigan's another big one. And it'll have a document and it looks very much like a government document. And it'll even say something like State of Washington. And it's like, you need to either purchase this. It's usually they don't quite reach scam level because what they'll do is they'll offer a service, but it's usually a free service, like already. Like someone in Washington at one of the agencies will already do this for you.
Right.
And they're like offering, you can pay me $50 and I file this on your behalf, which is like, well, you could have filed it for free because they're also going to charge you the filing fee on top of the service.
Yeah.
So if you do ever have any kind of questions like that, and yeah, we don't reach out to you we don't usually call you by phone from, it's not going to look like out of state. It's going to be a Washington number if we do ever call you. But you do want to check to make sure it does say, Department of Labor and Industries. But if you ever have any kind of questions, call the small business office. We're pretty well connected with those other liaisons, like I said, across the state and other different agencies. So we're always kind of telling each other like, okay, here's a new one that we're seeing pop up. The big one for labor and industries is the posters. Because when you have employees, you're supposed to hang 3 posters.
Yeah.
And these groups will reach out to you and say like, oh, you need to pay $200 for these posters. And sometimes they might be nice and laminate them. These posters are always free to you. Like you can literally go on our website. You can have as many as you want sent to you for free.
Yeah.
And that's true of any state agency and even federal agency. Required posters are always free. But there's plenty of outfits out there that are like trying to charge you. Like I said, sometimes they're nice and at least laminate them in one place. But yeah, don't be throwing money at stuff that you don't need to in your business. Like not when you could be putting it into your business itself.
Yeah. So what they're not doing is exactly illegal. It's just kind of
it toes the line of legality. Yeah, some of them have kind of crossed it, and we've had success in our state pursuing lawsuits against them to get them to stop.
Yeah.
But you shut one down and another one pops up. So yeah.
SIMBA's probably like the number one person who orders because we order a bunch, and I just go around different like cities in Eastern Washington, and I just give them to business owners, and I'm like, here you go.
Nice.
They're like,
they are beautiful
what is
posters.
this? And I'm like, this is the 3 required posters you have to have if you have an employee. And they're like, oh. And then some people have it, but most likely people have no idea what I'm even giving them.
Is that something that SIMBA does? Like if a new business opens, like do you go and like give them a care package?
We try.
Okay.
We try.
Okay,
And
yeah.
we need a bigger team, and we'd love to do that.
No, I've definitely. I feel like I probably back when I think pre-COVID, we had someone show up at our at my old place of work, and they brought us a bag of stuff. I think it was like DSP.
Yeah.
But like, and that kind of makes sense. But like, that is, I mean, but that is what you're not.
Yeah.
That's not what you're here to do. But like, that is such a like. If you're opening a business, go talk to SIMBA. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Well, and it's like usually like a good like tie-in of being like, oh, we can help you with like L&I stuff. We can help you with all these things. So, and usually it like gets people like, it's like giving them something free, and they're like, oh, I actually needed this.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, a lot of people don't know what I'm talking about when I hand them this, and they have employees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
you
will
wanna make
not
sure-
say anything. I won't report them.
Neither will I. I'll just make sure you can order all the ones you want. They're beautiful. I mean, they look great on people's walls. So
Yeah.
I highly recommend. And they do update them occasionally. So
Yeah.
that's always a good idea. There's like a little section at the very bottom. It'll tell you the most recent date. So you can always check that online versus like, do I have the most updated copy?
Can you get them in different languages too?
You can. They usually come, I think the standard one usually comes English on the front, Spanish on the back. And then, yeah, on our website, you'll see a list of languages that are available. And if you don't see the one that you want, reach out to us and we will get it translated.
Perfect. Yeah. That like is a good lead into our next question of how does small business outreach program actually help business owners? What does that support look like day to day?
All right. Yeah, it is a great question. Our small business outreach program was born of the realization that despite our best efforts, like we do have great staff, we have very dedicated people, like we aren't reaching all the communities that we want to. As I mentioned before, there is some fear in there about reaching out to a government agency. So what we've done is we've partnered with nonprofits across the state through an outreach contracts and grants program, where, as you said, you're kind of like the mouthpiece for us. In a way, you have kind of audiences that trust you as a community member, and then you can kind of help deliver that information, or at least connect us together. And as you said, you do great work at SIMBA with like you have great social media posts, and like this is the first podcast I believe any group has done. And then presentations, things like that. Like you're going to be at Biz Fair as well, and you'll have L&I content on there. It's really just trying to spread that reach, because we do realize there's a lot of communities that are not being successfully reached, and that's what we're trying to do, is reach those underserved communities to make them aware of their rights
and getting them the info before they are in trouble, because that's usually when people want to talk to us, is when they have like something. They're like, oh, I just got this, or this is happening. But I feel like this is just me venting. I put out all this content, I do all this workshops, and no one wants to come or read my newsletter. And I'm like, it's all there. But people really just want to like, really are like paying attention when they're actually like experiencing it or like in trouble or something. And I'm like, dang it. You could have read my April newsletter, and you could have learned about Brendan.
What should small businesses like that are like that have employees like from 1 person to 10 people, like what should they prioritize first?
Okay. Yeah, it's hard because I understand that I had a small business myself before I started this position. And in a small business, you're pouring all your time and energy into that small business. So we realize like you don't always have the time to make time for these important things. But it is really crucial that you do. As Alexis said, like if you had that information before, you could have saved yourself a lot of time and money potentially later. Yeah. So that's really probably what I tell people is like reach out to those resources. Reach out to our office. We offer like a monthly webinar called L&I Essentials for Business. It's 80 minutes of, all the L&I content you could ever want. I even throw a bunch of terrible dad jokes in for free. And it's really just, you don't know what you don't know. And starting off, it's overwhelming. You're operating a business. Now you suddenly have all these employees that you're responsible for. So like, let us help you when you need that. But it really just involves, making sure you get that workers' comp account. And Oddly enough, you do not go to L&I to get that workers' comp account. You go to Department of Revenue because that makes perfect sense, right? Actually, it's when you start a business with employees, it makes sense because you have to get that business license anyways. And what you do, that's through Department of Revenue. You'll indicate that you have employees and it automatically sends that application to us. And then we set up that workers' comp account. It also send it to another agency, Employment Security Department. They set up unemployment insurance, paid family medical leave, and Washington Cares. So there's 3 things over there that they set up. So it is a lot at the beginning, but it's really crucial that you get that set up. And then, of course, get that safety program get in place, and then learn those labor laws. Make sure that you're paying people correctly, that you're paying the right rate, and that you're giving them rest and meal breaks. That's also a big thing, because a lot of people don't realize, for every 4 hours that someone works, they're supposed to get a 10-minute break that's paid. For every 5 hours, they're supposed to get a half-hour meal break.
Yeah.
And that can be unpaid if they're completely free of duty and not on call. But if they are on call or if they have to remain on duty, that has to be paid. And oftentimes, players don't maybe know that or they aren't tracking that. And then, potentially an employee gets disgruntled at some point or files a wage complaint, and suddenly you all owe all those back payments for all those breaks you didn't provide, or meal breaks, things like that. Yeah, and they they can go back 3 years, so that could be potentially catastrophic when you're not expecting a huge expense like that. So the main thing is get us involved. Reach out to us. We have a lot of us that just want to give you the resources and help set you up so that you can succeed.
Is that like something that, obviously the employer has to communicate that to the employee, because I could see we are sitting at a desk, you can take a break whenever you want to, but that has to be communicated. There has to be
employee handbook.
Is that part of the employee handbook? Is that typically I would
recommend putting it in there. I also recommend if it's an hourly person, so they have a timesheet. I recommend putting on there that, they sign off on something saying that they have taken all their breaks. Right. That way, you as the employer, you have a record of that.
Right.
It's good just also as a reminder that the employee takes that. The idea is you have a rest period so that you aren't, because the longer you work without a rest period, the more likely you are to have an accident. Of course, depending on kind of the line of work. That's what I recommend for employers is have that right there on the timesheet. So that way you can track it.
Retail, my boss was always like, go take a break, go take a lunch, and I was like, I don't want to. I just want to get the day done. I just want to not take a break. I hate it. I hate taking breaks, but I have to force myself to. And now I understand why she was always on me about go take a break, go take a lunch.
Good for her.
Yeah. No, she always told me.
Maybe she took our webinar.
Yeah, maybe.
Is it different for salary employees?
Okay, that's a great question because it's salaried. Now, this has also undergone quite a bit of change in the past decade. Because before it was pretty much if you were salaried, you were overtime exempt. We didn't need to track your hours. But that has changed. In Washington, there is a salary threshold and there is a duties test. So certain jobs you could not be overtime exempt from, like construction. It's usually kind of manual labor stuff you can't. But if you're doing some kind of administrative or executive work or, professional, it's usually kind of clerical work is generally what it is. So it would have to meet a duties test. You'd have to be paid on salary, and then you have to meet that salary threshold. And that's gone up each year until it's going to be 2.5 times the minimum wage by the year 2028. So that's a pretty high benchmark. Yeah. Right now it's around $80,000. It's been a particularly difficult struggle for nonprofits because, you may have people that's I don't care. I don't want to be paid overtime. I just want to work as much as possible, but they're under that salary threshold. And if they're not, they do have to then be paid. Overtime is 1.5 times the standard hourly rate that you're getting. Yeah. And that's 40 hours in a work week. So anything over 40 hours in a work week.
Is there? I remember. This must have been almost 10 years ago. But is there city laws for employees? Is there anything that I remember? It was about paid time off, PTO. I allocated I don't forget how much I allocated for every hour I worked, but is there anything? And I felt like it was a city, a Spokane city ordinance but is that not true? Is there
No,
there's
it's entirely possible.
Okay.
So yeah, that's just it. So there's not just rules at the federal level and the state level. Like, oh no, folks, there's more. There could be county and city ones. Like it's especially prevalent in Seattle. Seattle has an Office of Labor Standards, and they have some rules that are even more stringent than what L&I does.
Okay.
There's also regional minimum wages. I don't think it's hit anything on the east side of Washington yet, but there are several cities in Western Washington that have a higher minimum wage. So if you work out of that city, you have to pay that higher wage. So that could even be true of a Spokane business where you have an employee, let's say that's working in Seattle, like they telework from there. Yeah, you would have to pay that Seattle minimum wage in those cases. But yeah, there are city regulations about it sometimes.
Is that information we can find out at your website, or is there somewhere else?
We can kind of point you to those resources, but yeah, we wouldn't have jurisdiction over them just because it is a city law.
It's a city law.
Point.
Yeah, and it's always good to like go onto your guys' website because it's always changing.
Yes,
everything, like the thresholds, the minimum wage, other rules, like everything is like usually a year.
Yeah, just bookmark it. I mean, it's more fun than Instagram anyway.
Yeah,
so,
right.
I mean, it's my favorite place to scroll.
That's what I do.
Yes, and you should too, folks. Everyone should. Bookmark L&I and just spend all your day scrolling.
Yeah.
You won't be disappointed.
Yeah, and you could also follow L&I, and you guys have good content where it's
We
like,
do.
and then so when you're scrolling, you can find a good business tip. I'm like, oh, hey, I learned something.
That's not in my algorithm yet. I need to go follow you so I can get.
You're doing something wrong.
I got a bunch of Chihuahua videos.
Yeah, other than brain rot, like.
What other free resources and tools does L&I provide for small businesses?
Yes, this is one of my favorite questions. This is what I'm all about. I love the free resources.
Yeah.
The number one is ours, like the small business office. And because that's the one thing, like if you take nothing away from this, the podcast, it's reach out to the small business office because we can then at least point you to all the other different kinds of resources. But probably my next favorite one is we do offer free safety and health consultations. What that means is you invite someone from DOSH. I know that sounds scary, but you invite them out to your workplace and they will provide a free and confidential evaluation of your workspace. And the key words are free and confidential, meaning it's not going to be shared with the compliance inspectors.
Yeah.
It's not the enforcement side. This is the whole other different side of DOSH, which is that education side. I can't recommend these enough because a lot of people, again, you don't know what you're doing wrong. And there's so many safety laws, especially in certain industries, that it's just difficult to keep track of all of them, especially as a small business when you probably can't afford to have someone who will do just that.
Yeah.
So yeah, inviting someone out to do that. They can even help with that accident prevention program. And it's most likely going to be someone from DOSH Consultation that will be at your event in September.
Yeah.
That'll be doing that. We offer a whole bunch of different consultations as well. Like another really important one it's our early return to work. What they'll do is, so when you have someone that's injured, and they then file a claim, there's a potential that they might be off of work for a while. And that can really harm a small business. If you maybe only have 1 to 5 employees, one of those people being out, that's a major impact to your business.
Yeah.
And you want to get them back to work as soon as possible. And there are all sorts of incentive programs that we have, like where we can even be paying part of those wages to that person for them to come back and do a light duty job that's approved by the doctor. So what these consultations do is they'll come into your work, they'll kind of do a job analysis and write up those light duty jobs so that you have them in place. So in the event any of those workers get injured, they can go to that first doctor's visit with that already in place.
Yeah.
It's going to mean it's going to be quicker that they can potentially come back. It's going to save your business a lot of money. Yeah, that's one of we also have things for like, Equal Pay and Opportunities Act. So those are kind of like labor laws. We have things around isolated worker protection. So there's all sorts of different consultations that we offer.
So with the rise of like share working spaces, this is where I'm in a share workspace here in Spokane, and there's multiple small businesses all in these different rooms. Like, it just occurred to me, like, am I responsible for, I mean, obviously I'm responsible for my area, but like, is there different rules for like when you're moving into a place that is a shared space? Do you know?
I'm not aware of different rules. It would probably be a good idea for the person who owns the space to maybe do one of these.
To do it, like, okay.
Yeah.
No, it's always, I was just like, because I used to be the only person in this block of rooms in this side of the building, and now they're almost all full.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, but there's multiple people in each room, and I'm just like, maybe I should report them.
Wow, we didn't learn anything.
Yeah, you learned nothing from this.
I'm just joking, but no, it's no, I this is so.
Yeah.
It just my head just, it's hard to wrap around like how much you do need to know, but how much like, but then how much support you actually have, because you do feel like as a small, like as a solopreneur, like I don't hate saying that word, I'm sorry. You do feel like you're alone in all this, but then I always fall back. Like I can ask SIMBA if I need something, and I can obviously go to you if I need something now. Like but I've always could have done that. You just don't know about it.
Yeah, you just have to know, and that's another thing is SIMBA. We'll do free consultations that is anything L&I related. So like workers' comp, independent contractor, even like getting your business license. Like we do free 1 hours.
Yeah.
So
is there like when you become a small business and you start that LLC and like is there something I should be expecting from the state of Washington, like like a welcome package? Like, is there anything like that? Like,
I wish, like a fruit basket.
Like, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that is like the state of Washington should do something for you. Like, if you like, here's a list of all these businesses you could contact or nonprofits that can help you ask some questions. Like, it'd just be great to like have more training wheels for like,
sure,
especially in this day and age, because like everyone. There's so many more. I mean, is there a number of how many more small businesses are opening, like percentage wise, like compared to like 20 years ago? It has to be a lot more, right?
Well, I mean, our state is made up, like, if you look at all businesses with employees, it's usually between 90 and 95% are small businesses.
Okay.
So typically in our state, that means fewer than 50 employees. The federal government has a really high number. It's sometimes 250, sometimes 500. I was like, that's not a small business. That's a pretty big business.
Yeah.
Yeah. 50
so like, if you have 250 people, you typically can hire HR and IT and all this stuff that a micro business, that's 1 to 5 employees can't, like that owner's having to do that. Mm-hmm. There is one great resource I do want to point to also that's not necessarily L&I, though we contribute to it. And it's a website called business.wa.gov. And that's just a good thing to know. Like, it's going to be a state government website if it ends with .wa.gov. So that's another way to kind of tell if it's kind of a misleading website that you're being directed to. But this site has a very extensive small business guide, and all of the liaisons contribute to it. And that would have been probably really helpful for you at the beginning, because it goes through those stages. Like, how do you start a business? We even have like pre-recorded webinars on there. Like, these are all the regulatory things you need to do. Like, you need to go to Secretary of State, register that LLC. You need to go to Department of Revenue, get that, business license. And then if you have employees, Employment Security Department, and L&I, all that stuff. So that's a really great resource. It has kind of like roadmaps on there. I believe it's over a dozen languages right now, that small business guide. And we do update that regularly. So that's probably the closest thing to a welcome basket. But the problem is, again, people don't know what they don't know, and they don't know that is out there, and that there is a whole team of liaisons with at least one at every major state agency that does the same thing I do. Yeah. Reach out to us. We want to help you.
Yeah.
And there's also like a lot of like city requirements and also industry requirements, like specific industry. Like, we help a lot of people who want to start food trucks.
Oh my goodness. I was hoping we wouldn't bring up food trucks. No,
but we always get people who want to start food trucks, and I feel bad because usually by the end of it, they're like, I'm good, I don't want to start a food truck. And I'm like, it's a lot.
That's because it does take more work than you think. Like, a lot of people, I think, are like, oh, food truck's easy. I don't have to rent a space. I don't have to buy a space. I will own a vehicle. It's going to be cheaper. But what they don't realize, it has to be inspected by our agency.
Yeah.
Because we want to make sure it's safe. like that, because there have been people that have perished in fires in food trucks. So it does have to be inspected. And what's very common, especially where you're located, is you may go across the border and buy that food truck in Idaho, which has vastly different rules around it, and then bring it in, and then you might have to submit plans. And that involves a whole nother layer of like review, and that can take time. It could take weeks, it could take months potentially. And then unfortunately you have this person that was really eager to get their business started, and they're just kind of sitting on a truck because they didn't realize, you know what I do? I have to get that business plan, the business license. I need to, I need to involve the county food health codes, and then get that inspected and
get the LNI sticker. And it's also a lot of money. Like a lot of people get them from like Amazon lately. I've been hearing people like getting food trucks from Amazon, and so they're like, usually that means it's like out of. I'm like, how did they get that? Like a Temu food truck? I'm like, what? But yeah, it's a lot of like money if you buy one from like out of state, and that's a lot of investment. And then you get it, and you're like, LNI is like, yeah, no, this isn't up to code. And so and then also people get confused if like they have just a stand and they don't have a truck. They're like, so I don't have to have LNI involvement. And I'm like, that's correct.
Yes.
So like guiding people and just like figuring out those like very industry specific things is tricky. And like people who don't know, they don't know. Like they have no idea. So
Yes. So be in the know.
Yeah.
Reach out to us.
I think we've already answered this question, but I feel like it's probably good to reiterate it. Like, how can a business owner ask for help before they get into trouble?
Okay. Yeah. And that is, knowledge was just being aware of who is out there to help you is the first thing. And like I said, please reach out to the small business office. We are really well connected to all the other liaisons at other state agencies. So even if it has nothing to do with LNI, we can point you in the right direction. Another thing I highly recommend is there are a lot of free business advising resources out there. SIMBA can help. There's things like the Washington Small Business Development Center. There's a group called SCORE where they have like trained business advisors. Yeah. And sadly, a lot of small businesses aren't even going to reach the 5-year mark because they kind of launch into it. They may be really great at what they do and that service they're offering, but not everything else around it, like how to operate that business, how to stay in compliance. And that's where these advisors can help. They can help them create a business plan, help them figure out how they're going to do marketing, if they're going to be, hiring employees, all those kind of things. So it's really just about knowing where to find your resources and utilizing them, not being too shy to reach out and ask for that help. And like I said, the vast majority of that help is free or very low cost.
Yeah. Yeah, reach out to SIMBA.
Yes, please.
Reach out to SIMBA. But yeah, there's a lot of good. We're part of LNI, but we're also part of SBRN, and that's another really good. There's a lot of SBRN partners in this area. But yeah, reach out to SIMBA, and we can always, if we can't help you, we'll point you in the right direction as well. Yeah.
Nice. Well, I mean, the last question we have here is, if you could get every small business owner in Washington to understand one thing about LNI, what would that be?
What's your call to action? What do you want everyone to listen to?
Okay. That you have friends at LNI. I think a lot of people would probably laugh at that, and I have had people chuckle at me when I say that. Like, we always like to tell them we're your friendliest friends, but yeah, like generally the people at LNI, they want to help you. I mean, there is. Just because we do have that enforcement side, people think like we're not relishing that. We don't like to punish people. It's like we're required to by law. Like we have to adhere to the laws that the legislature creates, and then we have to administer those. And some of those do involve like citations and fines. But there's this whole other side to our agency. It's all about education. It's all about helping people so that they never have to deal with that enforcement side. Yeah. So that's probably the one thing I would say is like, we have a lot of really dedicated people that, they could be making more money elsewhere. But they want to be public servants. I mean, they take that very seriously. They're there because they want to help. Yeah.
And everyone on their team is really, really nice and really helpful.
Thank you.
They're not scary. They're really funny and nice. And like usually in all of our meetings, we're like, just laughing, not doing not talking about anything boring, just fun stuff.
No, this has been great. I've learned so much, and I want to pass this along to pass this episode along to my small business friends, because I know they don't know. Like I know. Like you mentioned, food trucks. My buddy just opened a food truck like last year, and in his opening got delayed like by a month, because he's just like it takes so much.
Yeah.
It takes so much time, money, effort to do it, and like I could imagine he was probably close to quitting, but he pulled through. But like it's still like it's one of those things, like owning a small business is, you feel like it is, like I already said, like you do feel like you're on an island, but there is so many people that want to help you and that are there to help you, and that won't cost you any money too.
Yeah. And usually a lot of small businesses, they want to help too. Like if you're like if I have a lot of people like members who they've been through certain things, and they're like, hey, like, if someone wants help and wants to talk about things of like what I've gone through, I'll totally sit down and talk to them.
Yeah.
So I think just also finding like a small business friend who's kind of been through it.
Yeah.
Someone to guide you. That's also helpful.
Andrew, I know we're about to end here, but you this is your fourth time in Spokane. What have you enjoyed in Spokane since you've been here?
I do love that, we're not really supposed to drive around in our agency vehicles too much. And I actually love doing that here. I love just parking the car and then walking around.
Yeah. I
love the parks. I love downtown. One of my favorites is Gilded Unicorn, which I went back to last night.
Nice. Just recently reopened. So, what'd you have?
I had the schnitzel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Nice. It was great. I love go downstairs and it feels like you're going into a different time period.
It's like
the giant rock walls, and
it used to be called the Catacombs. That's what it was before it was a Gilded. And they did wood fire pizza. But it's such a cool place, and right below the Montvale. And then they have that new tap room. That's right. It's self-serve tap room.
Yep.
Which is interesting. I wonder how that's compliant.
I don't even want to get into that.
Maybe we should avoid that one.
Serving yourself a beer. But I haven't been there yet, but it looks cool. Like I've seen people just go in there, they pour themselves a beer, and I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah, I went there once. It was fun.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We have a beautiful city. We have really great community organizations to help. And when you want to, please reach out to us over at LNI, because we do want to help you succeed.
And what's, I guess, say your website?
Yes, that's probably a good idea. I mention it all the time. Like, good luck there are search engines. It's going to be to reach our page specifically, where what we like to do is we love the word essential. Everything is essential. But on it, we've kind of boiled down, because we have a gigantic website. We've taken like all the major things that you should know and put them on one page. We even have videos for different topics, like common topics that we've just started as well. But that's at lni.wa.gov/small business. That'll take you to our specific webpage. You can reach us at 1-800-987-0145 or email us at smallbusiness@lni.wa.gov.
Awesome.
And we're more than happy to help anytime.
Well, again, thank you, Andrew. And Alexis, do you have anything in this? Is anything going on? I know this is coming out I believe in July.
Okay.
But is there anything coming up? You mentioned the September.
September 14th. I just locked that down at Liberty Park. I want to say probably like 5 to 6:30. We're gonna do the APP workshop, so I gotta start working on that.
It's gonna be a party, folks.
Yeah, I have the speakers down, and it's gonna be hybrid. So and then that's pretty much. That's all I have going on. I'm not going to think that far ahead.
No, I went to the circus thing. It was amazing.
Yes, it was such a success.
Well, awesome, Andrew. And this has been. I honestly I was like LNI. I'm like But this was a fantastic conversation. I thank you so much for joining us, and thank you all so much for listening. Until next time, peace. Awesome. you.